Yo, what's up, everybody? Bren here. Been a little bit since been on the stream. I think no, actually we're here last Friday. Hope everybody's having an amazing day. It is Tuesday, February 3rd. Been a hell of a last week in the markets, not just for crypto, gold, silver. I think last time we were on stream, maybe on Friday. Obviously, last week is when the metals came down. It was just a week ago that everybody was hot on the metals train. Everybody calling for $300 silver, and then just like that, parabolic move can end. We're going to talk a lot about. I'm super excited for this stream. We're going to talk a lot about what's going on in all these different markets and potentially, obviously what's going to come next, what the charts are potentially saying, whether we're entering a 2022 type bear, some type of small, hanging on to the chance that this can be a mid-cycle correction or something in between. We'll talk about that. I think all these markets, the stock market, crypto, um, gold, silver, all are in super interesting places and super crucial kind of points in the market. And we're going to talk about how, no matter what market phase that we're in, how potentially you could thrive, you know, continue to, most importantly, survive, however long it takes. I think there's a good shot just to start it off that whatever's going to happen here, it'll probably be more in between, right? Obviously, if you guys have been on the stream following my stuff for a while, I was watching this 81K level very, um, very closely. And I thought that very likely that this 81K 9 week low would likely act as a base to bounce, sending us back to 100K. But instead, it looks like that the 98K, 96K bounce was that bounce, and we broke right through. This was the first time since the bull market started in 2023 that Bitcoin broke through a 4 week consolidation and didn't lead to a big bounce. So obviously, an out of the ordinary setup there. And obviously, when this happened, everybody assumes that we're entering a 2022 type bear market where we're going to be down only for the next 6 to 9 months. You have people like Benjamin Cohen, who I've learned a lot from this year. I've not always agreed with everything he said. I've not always agreed with everything Benjamin has said, but I've learned a lot from him. Started using these moving averages on the higher time frames because of him, and he thinks very potentially that we're going to go down until that there's going to be some bounces and rallies in between that, but we're going to go down until October. Very potentially that the bottom, just like we saw in the last cycle, that 8 to 10 months after that we're going to see the bottom. I think potentially we could see the bottom before that, actually, in the summer or even potentially here, which we'll talk about. But I want to go ahead and start off and say that, when you hear bear market, you automatically assume that it means 2 to 3 years of just straight depression, that you should touch grass for a year, go away, and, just come back in a couple or a year or two when crypto's strong again. And I would just I would just say that look at the higher time frame charts, and I'm not even looking at them. Look at the higher time frame charts, and if you just see how the longest bear market of all time was this last one we had here, which had Bitcoin topping out in November 2021 and bottoming out in November of 2022, which was a year, only 12 months of bear market. And you got to remember what was happening during this time. There was no institutional adoption. The regulators were all coming down against all the crypto companies. FTX was one of the biggest financial frauds of all time, billions of dollars lost, and that bear market still only lasted a year. You go back to 2017, 2018, the bear market, same thing, lasted 11, I think 13 months from top to bottom. During that time, crypto, there was no adoption. Nobody really cared about crypto back then. And that one still only lasted 12 months. This time around, we have ETFs, we have institutions, we have regulations getting finished up. We have all of these positive catalysts in the background to where even if Benjamin Cowan's October low prediction happens, it's literally a matter of months. Like you're literally talking a matter of 7 or 8 months, which obviously in crypto land is a fucking long time. Don't get me wrong. Especially the last 2 or 3 months for me have just seemed like it's felt like so long, right? But um 8 to 10 months, or at the like the longest, if we were to follow the old crypto, or bear markets, really like it's just a matter of months before we find the bottom, right? So for me, what I'm personally doing, what I've found success in over the last bull markets or bear markets I really have experienced, is I'm going to continue to stick around. I know, especially nowadays on chain, there's going to be continue to be opportunities. Whether Bitcoin bottoms out here and somehow sends back to 126K, or or wait till October, there's going to be opportunities that pop up. There's going to be opportunities to, more importantly, continue to learn and sharpen your skills. And just like anything, crypto, like basketball, like fucking golf, especially, like if you don't do it for 8 or 9 months, you're gonna lose all your pattern recognition and just all that. So before we go and get into the charts, like I think whether crypto bottoms out here or takes another 7 or 8 months, I'm sticking around. I'm continuing to do streams and stuff like this, but more importantly, um, look around because there's going to be more opportunities, there's going to be more stuff to learn, and I'm just going to continue to DCA into coins that I think are going to present amazing opportunities. If you have any type of dry powder, even though this time is boring more than anything, like these are golden opportunities that really only come around every couple years. So before I go ahead and get into the charts, I know that was a long rant. I do, if you guys could please like, comment, retweet, share the stream. I'm gonna go ahead and quote tweet it in a second, but let me know in the chat also if you guys are just tuning in for the first time, where you're tuning in from, and kind of how your feelings are in the market. What have you been thinking the last week or so? Do you think hype is a good buy right now? I do think hype is going to be good, a good one right here. Um, Let me go ahead and quote tweet this real quick. Yo, we're live. Um, um, let's see here. But yeah, hope everybody's having a decent week. Again, port's down 80%. I'm eating ice at the moment. Yeah, man, it's been yeah, it's been tough. Again, it's right now. I definitely, even to this day, like I definitely wish. Um, I think I've done the DCing and stuff pretty good. Like I've definitely not done too much buying, but obviously in hindsight, if you know that these things are going to play out, um, definitely did some buying early on a couple months ago. But again, just more opportunities to buy the great coins. I think there is going to be a certain sect of coins, or a few sectors of coins that really bounce out of this and present some amazing opportunities right now. But let's just go ahead and start with Bitcoin. Obviously, like I said here a couple minutes ago, I was seeing this 81K low on Bitcoin the same way as every other 4 week or 1 month plus low consolidation was, which every single time since 2022 bear market low, or the bull market started, every time Bitcoin's corrected and then consolidated for a month, it's led to an all-time high or at least a big bounce. Right here, right here, right here, 3 other times or 4 other times. Um, Now, obviously, when I saw this setup, very high probabilities. We saw everything going on, regulation, everything in the fundamentals. I thought that was a very good sign, a very good chance that we would bounce off this low and create a bounce back towards 100K. Obviously, we sliced right through that low, which confirmed that that setup is invalidated, and now we are moving lower. Right now, everybody's assuming that we're looking at a 2022 type bear market where we're just going to go down for 7 or 8 months. Um, and while I think that's possible, I think there's some stuff to be looked at right now, that very likely leads to at least some type of bounce here soon. We see guys like my guy here, Psychedelic. I don't know if you guys follow him. He's a smart dude. He thinks that this low at 74K is actually going to be the bottom. He thinks Bitcoin's only down 80%. He's convinced that all his analysis that we've experienced here is a mid-cycle top. This period is essentially the Max Payne version of the thesis we're playing out. He says there's 25 billion in longs up to 110K. This liquidity has been built up. So he's essentially saying there's a lot of liquidity above there. And that this is kind of a max pain point in the market, and that he very potentially thinks that we do bounce from here and go back to all-time highs. While I think that's possible, that's not necessarily my base case here yet. But what we want to be looking at here for right now is until we see some type of consolidation, I'm not trying to guess exactly what's going to happen straight from here. What I would like to see, just like any time, and again, why we bounced off of this low here, is we want to see some type of consolidation and slowing down before Bitcoin makes a bounce. At least a couple weeks, or at least a week or so of slowing down. And if we're able to hold a low, I do think we get some type of bounce, because there is the PMI data came out yesterday. I don't know if you guys are familiar with PMI. Essentially, it measures the ISM manufacturing. Essentially, a lot of people like Raoul Paul and a lot of others think of crypto not following the 4-year cycle, but actually following the PMI business cycle, where essentially Bitcoin matches up to the PMI business cycle chart, and where essentially Bitcoin. Sorry, somebody's calling me. Bitcoin following this PMI business cycle here, where, as you guys can see here, this lines up whenever PMI goes up, lines up with all the crypto bull markets. As you can see here, for the first time, you see where the little dot is, it's actually expanding for the first time in multiple years. So now I don't, which means that every other time this has happened, it's led to Bitcoin going to all-time highs. So you see guys like Raoul Paul and a lot of others actually getting excited around this, thinking this very well could potentially create that bottom, just like it has all these other times. Now, while I think that's possible, I think we do need to see again some consolidation. And really, what I want to see for Bitcoin here to really confirm that we're like back, and that we're going to go potentially to all-time highs, is one, a close above 83K. And then if we were able to get back above 94K, which is that last bounce high there, I think at that point, that's a very, very strong confirmation that we're going to go back to at least 100K, and very likely all-time highs here. So kind of the way I'm playing it is, I do think more than likely after this big parabolic drop here, we are going to probably get a bounce. We could go down a little bit more, could be from here, could go to the low 70s, but I think we're going to get a bounce after some consolidation. At that point, you treat this bounce like I treat any type of bounce, right? Maybe get long if you're playing leverage, but play the bounce, and as it goes up, you want to watch how impulsive and how strong the move up is. If the move up is super strong and it just flies right through 91K in a week or so, there's a very good chance that that move is very impulsive and is going to shoot back to all-time highs. Or, there's always the possibility that, like Benjamin Cohen is saying, is that we go up, but then potentially see one more low in the 60s or 50s. Maybe he even says maybe even the 40s, which would be insane, to end the year, or to like in October, right? So that's kind of the way I'm playing it. I think what's likely to happen, like we usually see even in 2022, when Bitcoin has these bounces, is that, or has these moves down, that there's going to be likely a bounce at some point. What I'd be looking for, if you do want to play some type of bounce, if you do want to play some type of bounce, I apologize. Someone's calling me on Telegram. I need to turn the app off. If we do get some type of, what I would like to see for some type of bounce would be, again, some type of slowdown, and again, a move back above 82K, kind of like like a very important line is if we were to go above 92k, 94k, kind of that bounce from a couple weeks ago. At that point, we know there's a very good chance that we move back to all time highs from there, or at least back to 100k. So that's how I'm playing it. At least with Bitcoin, it's gonna be the same thing with ETH, guys. Um, we could see a bottom here. We've already seen 3 or 4 days of downside. If something comes out with the PMI or some type of regulation stuff or some type of news, I think what's most likely to happen, in the coming weeks is some type of bounce, and then we play it the same way. If ETH is able to bounce and somehow comes back above 3,400, then above that prior bounce high at 3,400 from the 16th, at that point, that's again a very strong indicator that we're going to push way higher back to all time highs. But again, we do need to be prepared that after we broke through 2,600 here, that we could get some more downside into later this year. That's just how I'm playing it. I'm obviously pretty already DCA'd pretty heavily into movement coins and coins like Hype and stuff like that the last few months. Um, so I'm going to continue to do that. Luckily, I have kept a lot of dry powder on the sidelines and not gone too crazy with the DCAs. But we'll go over some of the coin list here in a second. I want to go ahead and look at the chat um, and some other things as well. Crypto Carl, yeah, brother. No, it was not. It was less important. It was the fucking. If it was nothing's too important for you, motherfuckers. Anderson says, uh, feels good. How are you doing today? I'm doing well, Anderson. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Hope you're doing well, Crypto Carl. It's weird. Your picture is black. 815 says reposted the stream. I appreciate you, brother. But ETH, gonna be the same thing with Soul, guys. Literally the same thing. Soul back almost under $100 right now. Dipped under there again today. I do expect probably a bounce here on Soul over the next few weeks, but then going to got to play it by ear from there. Again, the kind of a really strong confirmation or kind of that we're so back level as if Soul were to cross back above 150. So play it by ear. The best thing I think could happen is if we slowed down here for a week or several days to a couple weeks, and then from there, I think the market, just like it usually does, could see a decent bounce. And I know as depressing as this may seem, especially I think for anything, it's not just the the prices going down, but it's just a lot of time like the unknown. It's just again, I just would caution everybody from doing what most people would do and just completely backing away and just saying, "Oh, I'll come back in several months," and continue to show up and continue to trade on chain and continue to look at charts and stuff like that. Maybe at a decreased level. Obviously, don't force anything. But I think finding the kind of the sweet spot of like staying involved while decreasing, at a bit, not forcing any trades or anything, is the key. That's what I'm going to continue to do. Also, I'm excited to talk about NFTs. I think there's a good chance that NFTs kind of some of these projects really pull away with some of these ETH prices dropping, but also S&P 500. This is S&P 500 is in a super interesting place right now. Again, I always tell you guys on these streams, major places to look at is major highs that last multiple months, right? This is a high that's lasted 5 months on the S&P 500, and yes, it's come above it multiple times, but as you guys can see, it's come back down a bit and is really failing or hesitating here to break. um there's a good chance that a lot of people are predicting Benjamin Cohen, a lot of people as well, that the S&P 500 and the stock market is going to take a dip as well. And if it is, it really would be an very interesting place to do it, because as you guys can see here as well, every time the stock market, similar to that setup I showed you with Bitcoin, um, every time that the stock market has consolidated for 3 or 4 months up here, it's led to a big reversal, right? That's kind of how most of the time consolidations go, right? So if Bitcoin or if S&P 500 were to dip back in here to like the 6,800 range, I think there is a good chance that we do, we do fall and see the stock market continue to correct as well. And at that point, again, a lot of people think that when they're actually going to start to print money is when the stock market's going to come down. So this could propel crypto down further, or either way, I think it's a quicker sign of this kind of correction ending in risk assets if the stock market were to come down as well. The quicker that we get through this, if we are going to, I think the better. So interesting place to look. I don't know if a lot of you guys do S&P 500 investing or anything. But if I were trading the S&P 500, I'd be very cautious buying or longing anything up at this high. Um, Feels like we were cooked, right? Says Crypto Carl. Yeah, man, it doesn't feel great. Most of all, like I said, just the boredom and the kind of unknown of, is this going to last 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 8 months? It's like definitely doesn't feel great. But man, if you just put it in perspective, if you have at all any dry powder, which I know a lot of people don't right now, but if you have a job or you have any type of expendable income where you're going to have any type of money, these are like the most golden opportunities to buy great coins. I would be very, very, very picky right now. Like I've been picky, but I'm going to be even more picky now. There's coins like Hype, coins like Movement coins, certain ones, SPX, some of these that are down, but have a lot of staying power that I think if you're able to buy any of these coins, can do, it's just like you're just going to have, these are just such great entries. Again, if whether it's 3, 6, 8 months, whatever it may be. And again, I don't think we're going to get 8 months, guys. I still think in this, what we're likely looking at is we're not in 2021, 2022 anymore, unless we go into some type of recession or some type of world war that brings all the markets down like crazy. I think what's most likely to happen is maybe, we bottom out in the summer, and by the time of the end of the year, we're near back at all time highs or even before that. I think that's probably most likely. I think we're going to speed run what was 2022. And I think the faster that we actually got into the 70s here is actually bullish, instead of going down to 76 and then bouncing and whatever. Um, Now, of course, we could see some bounces and then some hesitation for many months. But kind of what I'm trying to get at, yeah, it's definitely, feels cooked. But if you can zoom out and we can, you look back on a couple 2 3 year time frame, this is going to give a lot of people opportunity to kind of catch up or to kind of get involved if they play it right. So I definitely feel you, crypto Carl. It doesn't feel great, but at the same time, knowing that knowing what comes on the other end of this. Really, what I see crypto doing right now, guys, is I think it's kind of speed running not only the 2022 bear market, but kind of speed running what was the .com bubble crash back in back in the early 90s for the stock market. If we go way back here, the stock market obviously went crazy in the .com bubble, S&P 500, especially towards the end here in 97, 98, and then came down from 2000 down to 2002, 2003. And then the internet just went on to go to crazy, crazy adoption. Obviously, everybody started using the internet. All the internet stocks that you would have bought during this time, obviously you saw a dip in 2008, but if you would have held on for 10 years, all the internet stocks now are just 50, 100, 200x from if you would have bought during the bubble crash, right? And that's because the internet during the .com bubble wasn't ready. The adoption just wasn't quite ready. The technology wasn't quite ready. We had to see that couple years of downside, and then obviously the internet took off for 20, 30 years. I think that's what we're seeing here for this crash for crypto, especially with altcoins. But I don't think it's going to be a 2 or 3 year crash. I think what's more likely to happen is it's going to be a 6, 8, 9 month crash from the top at October. So, maybe you're looking at a June, July, August low, something like that. And then on the other side of this, I think crypto is going to finally see mass adoption with digital wallets, stable coins, probably NFTs, um, finally seeing adoption by the public, and the technology and the general public finally ready for the technology to be mass adopted and used by the world. And at that point, I think the few assets that have survived and are strong are going to go on the multiple 5, 10, 15, 20 year runs. And I think we're going to get retail participation in crypto again and all of that stuff, which again, I know I talked about this year, hopefully anticipating that would happen sooner. But I think timing and all these different things are almost impossible most of the time. And I think the ideas still check out as far as having will still play out as far as having retail adoption and even meme coins and stuff, which we can talk about. I think are still going to have a place in society, at least the movement coins. It's just we might be waiting a little bit longer on that. So for some people who are or might be over invested, that might be hard to hear. For some people uh, who didn't have the opportunity to buy some of these coins before, and maybe they're going to be working right now, or they're coming up on a tax return or something, and they might actually be able to buy and DCA into crypto. It might be a great thing. So yeah, that's definitely Rojam. I know you had a question. Even if you don't have any money, the worst thing you can do is get discouraged and walk away. You'll have to start over again with trying to learn the patterns and have to do the crypto trading. Yeah, absolutely, Rojam. And like with crypto, it's not even like you have to hit the gym and fucking put up jump shots every day. It's just being on Twitter, looking at charts. If you're trading on chain, just stick around and not completely dip out. XT Liquid says I have dry powder and it's going in unstable coin. Yeah. USDUC, I think at its level, if it can survive here, which I think has a good shot, at its current level is it'll be an impressive entry, I think. Hell yeah. Also, if you guys could really try to make an effort, even though this is a crazy time to be crypto in general, just um, posting crypto content. Check out the TikTok and Instagram at the top left at Bren Trades with two S's, except on Instagram, I think it's with one S. Either way, has the same PFP as I do here. Definitely check that out. If you guys could shoot me a follow on there. I've been actually getting a lot of you know some traction on the videos that we had from Basement Ron about silver and gold, so that's been cool. But definitely check me out on there. I'm gonna be having clips and some other good content coming as well. But if you guys could support me on there, that'd be amazing. Um, Dom's Crypto Life says, "What's causing the market to come down so much?" So obviously, it's been a few different things for crypto. 1010, obviously the October 10th catastrophe caused a lot of crypto, caused crypto to come down. A lot of people think there's some people who haven't yet some bodies that haven't come to the surface yet, maybe some exchanges that haven't seen who maybe had to deleverage or who had to sell their positions, who haven't really admitted it yet or talked about it yet. I think there's that. Most recently, you had the Federal Reserve chair got nominated right after gold and silver had these crazy moves. Right, last week, the new Fed chair got nominated, and he was he's more hawkish, meaning he's not as about money printing and lowering rates and stuff like that a lot of people might have expected. So there's a lot of things around it. Some people might think there's some like funny business going around with gold and people shorting it and stuff. But overall, that's kind of what triggered this move down is when that new Fed chair came in. And then now the S&P 500. Again, the most important thing to look at is I think it's been hovering around a 3 or 4 month high for a long time. So just that right there is a sign of caution. As far as the news goes and what it could push it down, you have not too many like I don't think any macro um, stuff coming as far as bearish macro stuff, except maybe around stuff with Iran that might trigger it to the downside. But technically, with technicals and everything, this does again look like it could very well, if it does dip down, could put in a bigger, not longer term, but maybe a midterm top that brings stock markets down with it. So, what's bringing crypto down so much? Again, what ignited this move down really was that 1010 stuff with obviously Trump tariffs came out, which caused crypto to move down. Stock market bounced back. crypto continue to move down because of the 1010 debacle. It does seem that's what ignited it. And then sometimes when prices come down, it just ignites a bear market until it's over, and so until there's enough buyers to create a bottom, and then usually there's some type of bigger catalyst. So what are the catalysts that get us out of this eventually? I think it's going to be adoption. Like I said, guys, I think crypto's finally ready to see mainstream adoption over the next few years. The technology is ready for it. All the institutions have been just pushing crypto hard and setting up the infrastructure. And I heard Benjamin Cohen actually said it perfectly on one of his streams yesterday. Is that is that he is that if somebody says, "Oh, we don't even need retail to come in anymore," right? Like we don't even retail doesn't even need to come in; it can just be all institutions now. And he said that if institutions, if it was only institutions, and retail never came in, then there'd be nobody to buy their bags. It would just be there'd be no point. All their investments would go to zero essentially. uh, Institutions set up stuff so that retail can eventually buy the products, right? So who knows? Is that I think that's what's going to happen on this next run, which will eventually create a kind of retail mania and all that different stuff. So I lost 90% of my port, but still hope we'll make it back eventually. Which alts are you most bullish on for the future? Which would you recommend for look into in DCA into the next few months? That's a great question, brother. Andrew, let me know in the chat too while I'm answering this. If is this your first cycle? Let me know. Also, let me know if this is your first cycle. Um, okay. Let me clarify too. This is me going over this scenario right here is me a few minutes going over what could potentially happen if Bitcoin bounces here and fails to break above 95, 94k high, right? Which again is what a lot of people think may happen. Benjamin Cohen, a lot of these other guys think we're going to see um, a low into October potentially, maybe in June or July, and that's what this is depicting. Now that's not necessarily my base case. I think Bitcoin bought probably puts in a low here in the next couple weeks, and then bounces, and we see from there. We always got to take it in these kind of bear markets and these deeper corrections. I'm sorry, these bounces and these deeper corrections. We kind of got to play it by year. So we'll see how strong the bounce is. This is kind of the worst case scenario, but also it's possible. But let me know if this is your guys' first time, like your first cycle, second cycle, third cycle, whatever. Andrew, what I would say, you lost 90% of your port. Let me know if this is your first cycle. What I would say is, first of all, that's rough. You just kind of said it perfectly. You're gonna make it back, dude. Whether like I can tell you for sure, my first cycle in 2017, I did not make money. Almost nobody makes money in their first cycle. I'm assuming it's your first cycle, but almost nobody makes money in their first cycle. Almost always at their second or third cycle, because again, most people don't have any concept of taking profits or portfolio distribution or any of that stuff. So they're kind of just completely playing it by year, and you know which obviously produces, it's tough that way, right? And then second cycle, people come around and they're able to be more strategic and all that good stuff. And then that's when they're able to take profits and all that. Um, and so if this is your first cycle, don't be too tough on yourself. Like you said, you're going to make it back. The biggest breakthroughs I've ever had in crypto, the only reason I was able to, especially this year when the market was shit, the only reason in these streams we were able to catch Pengu and Pump and Pengu Pump USDUC when it ran SPX, um, a lot of these others, is because of the different lessons that I learned during these kind of quote unquote bearish periods. And that is, again, learning from what not to do, the biggest point. So I don't know your specific situation, but I would assume that you probably did one of two things. You either chased things, or probably more likely just didn't take profits. You probably, had some gains on the table, didn't take profits when you should have, or you're too late. So really you want to focus on DCAing and buying corrective periods, whether it's a 3 to 6 month correction or a bigger one, and then taking profits on the way up. Just that alone will solve most people's problems. It just takes patience. So I would say set a profit taking system up now, even if there's no profits to be had for the next 3, 6 months, whatever, 2 months, 2 weeks, however long. You want to set up a profit taking system that says when price goes up 3x, 5x, 10x, whatever it may be, I'm taking this amount of profits off. And you do it every single time. And that's how you're able to get strategic and like systematic and able to like actually start winning. You have to set up like a system where you're able to do something every single time, and follow it. And you said which coins? To me, really, the coins I'm focusing on is, I think, above all else, is the coins that produce revenue, and that people that applications that people are going to continue to use in a bear market, bull market, whatever it may be. And the most obvious one is hype, right? Hype is in an interesting position right now, guys, because it obviously has gone fucking parabolic essentially the last couple weeks. But with that being said, the reason why I think hype will survive this is, again, Hyperliquid is a very popular application that people are using to long, short all these different apps. All these different assets, whether the market's going up or down. People can short just the same as they can long, which obviously is producing a lot of revenue that flows back into the coin. I think that's going to be especially bullish when market conditions are good again. So I'm not going to say go ahead and just buy hype, you know, fucking full port hype right now when it's already up, 2x in the last week or so. But if it somehow does give you a nice choppy correction in here, I'm definitely going to continue to buy hype again, because I think people are going to continue to use the app no matter what market phase that we're in. Okay, so Hyperliquid, I'm super bullish on. Aster is a sleeper too. Obviously, it's connections to Binance, blah blah blah. But what a lot of people don't realize is that Aster is actually going to be launching an L1, um, which is bullish, to do a bunch of other stuff, not just perps. So I think this is a potential L1 play being valued as just like a perp dex. So obviously, obviously want to see it slow down a bit, but Aster could potentially be a very good DCA as well. Apart from that, this could be a little bit more risky. A lot of people maybe not really, like the movement coins right now, are just completely staying away from meme coins. And I get that. But I think these movement coins have already proven time and time again. SPX, for example, one, two, three, four different, um, 80-90% corrections that it's come out of in the last couple of years. Something like MOG, same kind of way. Um, Not Mother of God. Let's see. Stuff like this that, again, has survived so many of these different corrections before. I just really would not count them out, um, when the market does bounce back. So you have Hyperliquid, Aster, Pump being another one. Pump might get, if crypto does continue to go down, I think Pump's holding strong, guys. And I think that's because people are still using the Pump app despite the market being down. So Pump is another one. It's an app that people are continuing to use even if we're in a bear market. And what I think that's going to produce is going to produce, when markets do turn around and conditions do improve, is a huge move up for Pump, very likely back to all-time highs. Again, this could take a year to play out, but these, again, are coins that I'm DCAing into, with a good amount of my 10, 15, 20% of my portfolio into these very strong coins. And 6 months, a year from now, zooming out, being up quite a lot, literally just from buying and holding. Again, those have been the biggest gains for me, is just buying and holding coins for weeks and months. Sometimes it takes days, or sometimes it takes weeks and months to set up. But again, these are the best plays, the easiest plays to manage. Um, and I think, the ones that have patience and are able to really just focus on these core 3, 4, 5 coins, DCA, are going to do incredibly well. At the end of the year, whenever this we're up. So got another question here. Gnome Toshi says USDUC for sure. My pony poops a lot. Crazy name. Says, I think the general perception around Kevin Warsh being hawkish is not accurate, and media was very biased in this regard, bringing up his 2011 hawkish views and stuff. Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of it was overhyped. That's a great point. And I think that's why a lot of people thought there was some funny business going along with naked shorts and stuff with Silver. So that's definitely a good point, brother, and definitely something to think about. He says going by that he's been saying lately. Yeah, and I think it's a Trump economy, so he's going to decide. Dragon Miser, I hope you're doing well, bro. Started with crypto 2 months before the last cycle, 2021. Okay, so this is your second cycle. Nice, nice. Lost some money there. Came back after 2 years. 2 years ago, and also didn't do well. Clearly, now more experienced at least, and want to learn from mistakes. There you fucking go, bro. I would just focus again if you have any dry powder. DCA, it doesn't have to be hype or pump or SPX or whatever it may be for you, or MOG or USDUC or whatever. For you, it might be something else, but DCA into those 3 or 4 or 5 coins and just wait it out. And I'm telling you, the gains on the other side. I think there's just a lot of obvious plays right now, but just a lot of uncertainty at the same time. A lot of people don't really want to ride on the uncertainty that I might be holding this coin for 3 months, or I might be holding it for 9 months. I might be holding it for 6 months. I think a lot of times right now, people are easily DCAing Bitcoin, right? Easily probably DCAing ETH. But outside of that, a lot of people are kind of scared, and understandably so. So, I mean, if you're able to stomach some of these dips, and, there's going to be some great opportunities. There's going to be some coins that literally rip 15, 20, 30x out of these lows. It's just about finding which ones they are. I think the surest fire ones are the ones that are producing revenue and have strong movements. That was my third cycle. I took some profits, about 100K Bitcoin. However, I put them in alt/memes, and then they nuked. Fun times. Yeah, bro. It's see, even a second, third cycle, you still live a lot. You still learn a lot. It's just about progressing every cycle. That's why taking profits just sets you apart, where you can make mistakes, but as long as you're taking profits aggressively on the way up on these alt and meme coins, you're making profits, or you're making progress. Should I sell all my meme ports? What are you in, right? It just depends really what you're in. For me, the movement coins, the SPX, Gigas, Mogs, the 4 or 5 there, I think there's a good shot maybe 1 or 2 of them don't survive another 3 to 6 months, if that's what we're looking at. But for me, I think most of those do survive because they've survived these corrections before, and because they have a core group of people that, whether this takes 3, 6, 9, 12 months, 15 months, there's a depression that comes out of nowhere that somehow these coins will survive, a lot of them. Thanks for the tips. I've been up like 4x overall at the top, didn't take profits. Kept buying tops and allocated some into memes and lost it all. What do you think about Tau and AI in general? Yeah, that happens, bro. It's just about taking profits and not going in so aggressively on the way up. But what do I think about Tau and AI in general? I think the AI and crypto narrative, over the next few years, is going to be very powerful. About the AI agent narrative, like the kind of the meme coin stuff, I know a lot of that stuff will come and go. But when you're talking Tau, you're talking about BitTensor, or BitTensor is Tau, huh? Or no? It is, yeah. You're talking Tau, some of these other AI coins that have been around for a while and really are building some like core technology, or some like real technology. I think those ones are going to do incredibly well. If you really look at AI and crypto, they really are just going to like work together seamlessly in the future. Like, AI is not going to use the traditional finance banking rails to transact, right? They need, especially if we want to have AI be kind of like transparent and stuff that's, not just like a walled garden. You want to have blockchain that's not private, that's open, an open ledger that people can track and all that. I think AI or crypto is going to be what AI uses to transact and uses to build economies and to do all the to spin up different incentives and stuff like that. So I think these other ones are just a matter of time before they do well. So um, Tau, that might be another one. If you're kind of looking at higher cap coins and you're willing to hold for several months, I think Tau could be another one for sure. What is your assumed price bottom for Bitcoin? So I think we're gonna get, just based off of how the market usually goes during these times. I guess there's a shot that we do just like May of 2022, where we continue down with no bounces. But I think what's most likely to happen is we probably do get a bounce, maybe based off of that PMI narrative, and then we see we see what happens from there. Again, if we go above 81K, that's a really good bullish um, confirmation. But if we push above that 94K bounce high, I think that's a really good shot where it's like, okay, there's an actual shot that we continue to push above 100 and potentially all time highs. But to answer your question, worst case scenario, if we get a bounce here and it fails, I think we could come back down one more time into the summer in the low 60s, maybe 50s, 40s. Who knows? Something could get like bad that we don't know about. But at the end of the day, guys, who cares if we know Bitcoin and crypto is on the brink over the next few years of mass adoption? All the institutions have told us that all markets will be put on chain. Collectibles. Also NFTs. I don't know if you guys saw NFTs in the World Cup. Um, FIFA Collect World Cup is set. Um, I think it says FIFA is heavily leveraging NFTs for the 2022 World Cup through FIFA Collect platform. Is selling right to buy RTB tokens that allow holders to secure tickets. These digital assets have generated over 15 million in profits. So, FIFA Collect, secure your seat at the World Cup. And I don't know, I haven't really read into this if this is okay, joins efforts with FIFA Global Citizens Fund for select 20 proceeds in the FIFA World Cup. But essentially, with the right to RTT ticket, you can secure your place at the world's biggest event. RTTs are available exclusive. So you can buy these, and it's like a collectible and a ticket in the same time. I don't know if this is done directly by FIFA themselves. I assume so. Made by FIFA, made for fans. This is interesting. I need to read more into this, but I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure. This is, yeah. I think it's pretty sure it's just like they're using NFTs to make the tickets collectible. And I think that's a big way that NFTs are going to be adopted over the next few years and legitimized, is again making these tickets NFTs. So I thought that was interesting. Does taking profits mean having it ready to deploy again immediately via stables, or taking it off the table entirely to a bank account, or a mix of the two? What's worked well for you? It's a great question, Rose Ramen. Even it really took me this last cycle this year to really, like, the last few years to really get that down. And really, even to this day, it's not like a one answer for everybody. But um, I like to, again, take profits on the way up, 25 here, 25 here, 25 here on the way up, and then put it back into ETH, Sol, and stables. It really depends on what phase of the market you're in. Like right now, if we get the market is, the market is coming down, ETH, Sol, and Bitcoin are obviously in an impulsive move down. I'm not sharing the charts, but Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol are in like an impulsive move down. I might take more profits, more likely, into Bitcoin and ETH because they're coming down. I want to DCA into it, but I probably do, for the most part, do 60 to 70% of it back into Bitcoin and ETH, and then put the rest into stables. That's what I'm mostly doing. And does that mean you should have it ready to deploy every time? No, I wouldn't. The worst thing you can do is just like take profits and then have to put it right back into something else. Especially if somehow we hit like a big market correction, like we have the last few years or the last year, um, then you're kind of stuck. You're better off just getting in more slowly for sure. But yeah, let's see. Appreciate the new follows. Appreciate everybody showing support on the stream. Um, let me see here. Let's go ahead and review some stuff that's happened this week, though, as well. Let's go. Appreciate you guys for commenting. I did save some bookmarks here. So obviously the McRib came back. Every time this has happened, it's led to a bull market, but this time could be different, I guess. Every time this has happened, it's been like literally at the start or the start or in the middle of a already existing bull run. But I just thought this is funny. This time is going to be different, maybe. House today passed the government funding package to end the partial shutdown, which is cool. Which is good overall. U.S. military shoots down Iranian drone that approached U.S. aircraft carrier. It seems like you're hearing that it's kind of the consensus that we're going to get some type of strike on Iran. So we'll see what happens there. But um, yeah, that could be what creates the move down in the stock market. But Skyodelic says this is what I mean about late shorts. When we are moving around key higher time frame levels, the emotional trading reaches its peak. This is how the market fucks everyone so hard. Bait people with losing levels, emotional traders pile in mass and get wrecked. You see here price moving down fast and open interest moving up fast. Then price reverses and open interest goes down fast also. What this shows you is that when key levels are lost, you should actually long them because this market will just cheer you up. Whatever seems obvious is not. It's a trap. This will continue to happen until they have built up enough liquidity, baited enough shorters, and then they will run it up very fast, not allowing to whatever. So, yeah, I don't know. I think we do get a bounce. Would be cool to see us slow down for a bit, but really playing it by ear. And yeah, getting back to AI needing access to open BC. I heard Humidify has a dark pool that Jupiter is running 50% ish through. How will dark pools affect crypto overall? See, I'm not a dark pool expert at all, but I think privacy, which what dark pools are going to become commonplace, right? But I don't really know how it's going to affect the the pools overall. I guess dark pools maybe actually not very great for on chain. Like obviously you want to be able to see all that different stuff. So I don't really have a strong opinion. I'm not really a dark pool expert. Let me know what you think in the chat. Good stream, good tech. I appreciate you, Gardner, Greg, for being here. But shout out to Greeny for staying consistent. Man, the timeline is still weird. Triple IRS move. Damn. Shout out to him. But yeah, slow day. Again, if you're listening to this and you're feeling like, what the fuck? Like, should I just quit? Should I sell everything? Should I just give up crypto forever? You see a lot of people saying, oh, we're never going to see all time highs on some of these altcoins or, any altcoins forever. It's just going to continue to be Bitcoin. If that, we're going into a 2-year bear market. Again, it's just, I just think back to down here in 2022. Just pretty similar, but probably even worse back then because there was not a lot of on-chain stuff, right? There was meme coins a little bit, but Pepe had just come around. Um, there wasn't a lot of crazy on-chain stuff. You had the FTX, all this different stuff. I remember everybody was saying the same thing. Why would we go into another bull market ever again? We just had the biggest fraud ever. We just had this, that, and the other. SEC coming against people, and then what happened? A couple, 3-6 months later, we saw the biggest like meme coin run ever where all these people are making hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars. We saw all the institutional stuff, BlackRock, ETFs, everybody, all the biggest institutions talking about crypto now. things can change very quickly. So I don't know if you at all see a vision here with yourself in crypto long term. These are the times you want to fucking dig in. That doesn't mean you want to be placing trades every day. It's just stick around, come hang out with us on the streams here, continue to hang out in the Boss Man Calls Telegram channel, other Benjamin Cohen streams, anybody who you like and you find value from, continue to consume their content, continue to learn, continue to stick around. And I'm telling you, there's going to be other opportunities. There's too much stuff going on chain, like NFTs, for example, in 2021. Sprouted out of the crypto bear market. We had Pepe sprout out of the crypto bear market, kind of towards the end of it. There's always, especially now, going to be stuff going on. So, if you're feeling down, you feel like, fuck, I really put my all into crypto for the last couple of years, and then what do I have to show for it? I felt very similar in 2021, even though I did, more than 10, 20, 30x my money. It still felt like, fuck, like I had made some money here, but it's not like enough to like retire on, or like, whatever significant amount. So it's just like, what do I have to show for this? Like, I have no idea. There's so much uncertainty and, whatever, but I continue to double down, continue to post chart stuff, continue to, create relationships and network and all that stuff. And then, like I said, 6-9 months later, meme coins came around. I met Bossman and, started building the channel there, met so many great people all over. Literally like 6 months after, I thought, like, would ask myself, like, what the fuck's even going to happen from here. Right. So especially now with crypto, I think it's so obvious that we're going to see mass adoption, which doesn't mean everything's going to go up, but it means more people are going to use digital wallets. More people are going to use NFTs. More people are going to use stable coins, which is going to bring crypto adoption up as a whole. And eventually it will trickle in to the lower cap stuff. So I would just say continue to fucking push, continue to stick around. Definitely come hang out with us on the streams. I'm going to continue to have cool guests on, continue to hear people's stories and stuff. And I'm telling you, the best is yet to come. It always is, especially now with where crypto's at. It's like, why would you go away now? It's, things are always going to change, but there's always going to be opportunities. And trust me, if you're feeling like fucked right now, we've all been there. Just keep fucking pushing. Are you shifting to other markets during this time of crypto? That's a great question. Let me see here. Am I transitioning to any other markets right now? I've been looking at stuff potentially to like buy some puts on in like the stock markets just to play around. But for the most part, not really, because again, you have the stock market not looking great on the higher time frames. I will say that I was looking at Apple today, and it does look pretty decent. Into some individual stocks look pretty good, but I think the stock market, Amazon stuff is playing around at these big multi-month highs. So if I wasn't gonna short these, I probably would just stay out and just DCA into crypto, me personally. But yeah. Let's see. Shout out to Greeny. Definitely check out their stream later on. I think I have to get the 100% with them, but I'm pretty sure we'll be having them on Friday as well. So look out for that. But with that, guys, I'm going to continue to do these streams every week. Again, I'm going to have a guest on Friday with Greeny and Craig, and continue to have other great guests. And yeah, so definitely turn on post notifications. Definitely shoot the Boss Man Calls Telegram channel. We did actually catch a pretty solid play in there this week with my thing lagging. Let's see. With Shark. I don't know if you guys caught that. It's actually a coin, one of the only coins that's doing well right now. So shout out to everybody who caught that. I think Bossman this morning had called it at around 500K. So definitely um, check out the channel if you haven't already. And yeah, with that, let me see. Make sure I'm not missing something. Um, One second. Sorry, somebody called me. But with that, guys, like I said, I'll be back on Friday. Can continue Tuesdays, Fridays, 11:30. Today we did it at 12, but usually 11:30 a.m. PST. Hope everybody has an amazing rest of your day, rest of your week. Like I said, the best is yet to come. We'll continue to do these streams, continue to update everybody with the good plays and everything going on. So with that, I hope everybody has a great rest of your day, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.